All right. So welcome and thank you for joining us and participating in the career webinar from the Lighthouse for the Blind. This is a recording of our monthly webinar. My name is Cheryl Cummings. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Workforce Development Manager here at the Lighthouse. I'm a Black American woman who is blind. Today, our speaker is a retired executive recruiter and author who will introduce herself in a few moments. There are also two ASL interpreters who are on screen and will spotlight themselves throughout the presentation. Captions are turned on. This is a part of a series of webinars for people who are blind, low vision, deaf-blind, or blind with other disabilities. The purpose being of this series is to provide career webinars to provide you with tools and resources which you can use to take charge of your career exploration and career development. Each month, we focus on different topics, such as tools to write a resume, the use of assistive technology in the job search process, interviewing, networking, and self-employment. Look for future announcements, and please do join us. So to get us started, I invite our speaker to introduce herself. Tell us, who are you?
Well, hello, everyone. I am Sarah Freeman Smith, and I am an African American seasoned woman, I'm going to say, that has probably 30 plus years of recruiting experience, from being an executive recruiter within a staffing industry all the way to leading a diverse recruiting team across the country. Worked in multiple industries: oil and gas, financial services, manufacturing, etc. So I really, really love and enjoy sharing my insights when I was working for an organization that I couldn't share with a candidate, as far as empowering them to be more effective during their interview process, job search skills, and more importantly, ultimately landing a job. So I am definitely looking forward to the discussion on the importance of an elevator pitch. So great to be with you.
As always, I'm so excited that you said yes, because I just know that you're the perfect person to help us with this topic today. So today, we're going to be talking, as Sarah said, about elevator pitches. We're going to talk about what an elevator pitch is, why it is useful when searching for work. We're going to talk also about the parts of an elevator pitch. And most importantly, we are going to spend some time showing you how to write a compelling elevator pitch. So let's get started. So Sarah, can you talk about what an elevator pitch is and how it is used during the sort of job search process?
Most certainly. Well, first of all, let me give you a little bit of history of why it's called an elevator pitch, speech, etc. It really was started, believe it or not, way back in the early days of Hollywood, when different individuals, producers, actors, etc., had movie ideas and concepts, and they were talking to all of the studio executives. And the only time they couldn't make appointments, because they were obviously super booked, so they would jump on the elevator and they would give them this pitch. It's like, get to it. And by the time they got off that elevator, they told them the value of why they think this would make a great movie. And then obviously it would lead to, okay, let's schedule a time to talk and go, further details. However, we're talking early Hollywood days. Let's fast forward to the 90s, when the job market was obviously significantly down and individuals were looking for work, and the power of networking was really, really being pushed. So you could use that same elevator pitch concept that was, started back in the Hollywood days, except do a different spin and use that to help from a job search perspective and as well as networking. So I don't want you to just exclusively think of an elevator pitch as just something that you would do when you're looking for a job and expect, hiring managers, recruiters, et cetera, to ask that question. An elevator pitch is a simple way of encompassing who you are, what value you bring, and how you can make that impact, within an organization or with, whomever you're speaking with. So it also is a great way to use as networking. But think about it when you network, networking isn't where you're going to an association meeting or an alumni club, but it could very well be while you're sitting in the stands, and your kids are playing soccer and, the parents are sitting all around. Usually you're having conversations and somebody's doing something. They're either doing things on their phone. And next thing you know, they're talking about work. So if you are in the market of looking for a job, always seize upon those opportunities to network. So don't think of them as that structured networking atmosphere because it could be, again, sitting in a doctor's office or something. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, I was in a medical office with my husband, and someone was, talking on their phone. And when they finished, they watched me. I was using voiceover, and the next thing you know, there was a conversation. So tell me, what exactly do you do? What are you doing on the phone? So that led to a whole opportunity to tell the things that I do from a volunteer perspective. So these are things that, and that elevator pitch will give you that confidence. And it's not a long, lengthy, tell me your life story. What I find and why it is so critical, it is because this allows that person to kind of get a little mini picture or mini movie of who you are. And then that leads to more questions. Because believe it or not, even though when you go on an interview, and most of the time they may lead in, hey, so tell me a little bit about yourself, Sarah. So tell me who Sarah's about. Tell me something about you. So this is that opportunity that you can take within 30 seconds to no more than a minute to encapsulate everything that either you've done in the past or have a desire to do in the future and how that can add value to the organization or to that person that you're talking to. So that's why it's so critical. And I can tell you over the many, many years, don't assume that just because you were meeting with someone who has a scheduled interview that they have thoroughly read your resume, because oftentimes, especially when you are in a busy corporation and you've got multiple interviews, they'll do a quick eye scan. They'll print it out or scan it really quickly on their laptop. But most of the time, they may not have thoroughly reviewed that, so they're prepared. So this gives you an opportunity to kind of encapsulate what's on that resume, and that leads them to ask more questions or leading into some other questions in which you can begin to expand on. So that's the power of that elevator pitch. But I have had some good ones, and they were so impressive that I definitely wanted to continue to have conversations with that individual, because this is probably usually the very early stages of meeting someone. So think of it as that first impression. But on the other hand, when I've asked people, oh, so tell me a little bit about what you do, or what are you looking for? And when I get their life story, and when I say literally life story, I was born and raised in Des Moines, but my father was in the military and he got transferred to Germany, and then we moved back to the States, and then we moved. I have their whole life story, and I'm sitting there, and you're sitting there, and you're getting to the point. Why are you here? I don't need to hear the life story. I want to know who you are, what you bring to the table, and how that can help my organization. I always tell people, don't ever forget when you are talking to another person, and especially when you are trying to sell yourself or sell anything, they're listening to one radio station, and we all do it. The name of that radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me? Think about it. I'm sitting there looking at you. I know you want a job, but I'm trying to figure out how is Cheryl going to add value or make a difference with my company. And hopefully Cheryl will differentiate herself from the rest of the people that I've got to interview. So that's the only radio station they're tuning in. So everything you say, they're listening. Okay, well then that's great. Oh, she worked for that kind of company. Oh, she has this kind of, oh, that's one of her skills. All those things are checking off the boxes that I'm looking for. So always don't forget, they are wanting to know what can you do for us, not knowing that you're there because you need a job and hey, I need to make as much money as I possibly can. But you
Right.
just can't say it like that. So that's why it is so very important to shape and understand that power of that elevator pitch. So
I
that's
love
one of
it.
the things. Yes.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you broadened out this concept, right? And you reminded us to think not just about how it applies to work, but basically how it applies
Mm-hmm.
to every
Right.
part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna sort of follow on what you said and talk about sort of the parts of an elevator pitch. And there are four parts. So the first part, as Sarah said, is like, who are you, right? But it's got to be brief. So your name and sort of a friendly greeting. The second part is what do you do? So you can highlight your education, your skills, your strengths, your experience, but all of this focusing on what is relevant for your listener. As Sarah said, what's in it for me, the person that's listening to you? The third part is what do you want? I mean, and that is truly so. Are you interested in a job? Do you want a meeting? Do you want to collaborate? And sort of again, emphasizing the values you bring to be it the job, the position, the activity. And the fourth part is the conclusion. So uh, you want to conclude with a call to action. What that means is, would you like to exchange contact information? Are you requesting a time to meet? So always end by suggesting a next step and keeping it sort of simple for the listener. Um, so now that we've sort of talked about like the purpose and the parts of an elevator pitch, Sarah, how can I, as I'm getting ready to delve into writing or coming up with my um, elevator pitch, like what would you suggest I do to prepare?
Well, most importantly, you need to sit down and begin to write down your top three skills, competencies, qualities, assets
Mm,
that most companies will find valuable. But more in particular, if you've already have a job posting in mind and you see what some of the key qualifications are, this person must be self-sufficient, independent, work well within a team, um, strong communication skills, heavy, maybe it states heavy, you know, answering phones or something of that nature, but key in especially whatever particular job you have. So then you think about these are the top three things that I know that I'm very good at. So you want to make sure you include that in your elevator pitch. You also want to summarize the number of years of experience that you have. If you don't have any experience, talk about why you are looking to start your career within that particular industry. And then most importantly, and this is where most people fail, is try to do as much research as you can about a particular industry or a particular organization. So you can kind of loop a little bit of that into your speech so it shows that you know a little bit of why you feel that this would make an asset to ABC company or something of that nature. So encapsulate or summarize the number of years of experience that you've gained, then talk about the qualities or skills that are obviously very valuable and important to that employer. And then, of course, you want to write down now, what is it that I really want to do? Do I want to work full time? Do I want to work part time? Am I looking for an internship? You have to be specific as to what you are seeking, and then always end with somewhat of a call to action. I hope that we can schedule a time to discuss this in, your job openings, or I hope that I can meet with you at some point where you want to have a call to action. I'm looking forward to meeting with one of your team members to discuss the current opening that you have and how I can make an impact, something of that nature. So that's what you want to start writing down. And then once you write it down, then you've got to practice it. So those are the kind of things, because most of the time people are going, I don't know what I can do. Well, you got to know what your strengths are. And you have to make sure that these are things that the company would also find valuable. When you say I'm friendly, well, why is it important that I know friendly? Well, if I'm applying for a retail job in in a customer facing role where people are coming in and I have to greet them, well, friendliness is important. So that's where you want to kind of correlate and connect that friendliness. I enjoy, working with face to face with customers, or I have strong interpersonal skills. That's more of something where you are used to talking and meeting and greeting people. So you just think of, well, I'm friendly, but what does that mean to a company? So those are some of the things that you need to start writing down, because it is hard trying to think of those things on the fly. But once you capture all of those, then we're going to talk about how you can start breaking down and adding that and building it into a pitch.
And just a little self-promotion. I've got to say, if somebody's like, strengths, how do I figure those out? We did one of our first, if not our
Mhm.
first, webinars talked about strengths and sort of a method of figuring those out. That doesn't require you to like take a test, really just focuses on sort of the things you really like to do, and helps you identify the ones that we call dependable strengths, so the ones you like to use on a regular basis.
Mhm. Right, definitely.
All right, so I'm so excited because now we really get to sort of the meat of the program, right? Which is we wanted to spend some time sort of working out, talking out loud about how you create and how you write a compelling um, uh, elevator pitch. So I'm going to create a scenario because I love scenarios. So I'm going to pretend that I am interested in a receptionist position. And so, Sarah, here's my pitch. So, good morning, Sarah. Um, my name is Cheryl, and I have 5 years of experience working as a um, part-time receptionist, and I am now looking for a full-time opportunity. I'm good and would love to work for you. So, Sarah, based on that, like what's your feedback? What would you say is good about this elevator pitch? And then sort of what changes would you recommend?
Right. Well, it was very short and concise. That's a plus. Cheryl did state she was looking for part-time, and she stated that the type of job she's looking for is a receptionist, and that she had 5 years of experience, which is great. The mention that she's good, what does that mean? So we can flesh that out. And that she is now looking for, I believe she said, full-time role. So,
Yes.
so she tells us today where she is and where she wants to be, but it falls flat because it's not as compelling, or I still, as an employer, don't get what's in it for me. So what I would recommend that Cheryl do is lead off obviously with her name, she also didn't share with the employer the industry where she gained those 5 years. 5 years of experience, that's a good thing. Anytime you have more than a year or two, that's some tenure. So even if it could have been all temporary short-term jobs, but all added up together, anything, from a year, 2 years, that shows that you have some tenure, some staying power. So it would be important to me as an employer to know where you gained the 5 years of experience. In other words, what type of company. And also, as a receptionist, receptionists aren't one size fits all. You could have been in a back room, just sitting there answering a big console of phones and transferring them to people. Or were you sitting at the front desk? Did you only simply greet people and, direct them to, their appointments? Or did you take deliveries? Was it where people are waiting to come out and then pick up a particular client or a customer? So it still was a lot of open areas that you could share, that company would say, okay, that's similar. Because I'm sitting here thinking the whole time I'm interviewing you, I'm saying, how would she fit in this organization and what does she bring to the table? So if you paint a picture of where you've got experience, then I can see you, okay, we're busy. Okay, we do this. Okay, we do that. She's done that. And then obviously she really didn't expand on her strengths other than the fact that she said she's good. So I can only imagine, being a receptionist, that you've kind of got to juggle a lot of things, and they rely on that receptionist being there all the time. So dependability, reliability, those sorts of traits and characteristics are good. And then basically ending it with why she would be of value to my company. Well, if she's done that for 5 years for ABC company, then obviously that was only on a part-time basis. Imagine what she can do on a full-time basis. So those are things that I would do to strengthen her pitch. And on the fly, I kind of practice this myself. So let me pretend I'm Cheryl and
Okay.
give you my remix.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I have 5 years of work experience working for a busy law firm. I was responsible for managing all of the front desk operations, scheduling, and ensuring that all our clients felt welcomed when they entered our office. I am seeking an opportunity now as a full-time receptionist where I can utilize my dependability, my organizational skills, and the strong interpersonal skills that I have with customers to make an impact within your organization and keep your team on on par with working with their clients. So I am hoping that I can find a few minutes to schedule a time so we can talk further about your job openings. So
Right.
I
That's so
pulled in,
much better.
I pulled I pulled in the 5 years at
Right.
the law firm, and I told them busy law firm. But then what does that mean? I told them I managed all the front desk operations. I scheduled. I made all our clients feel welcome. Now I'm looking for a full-time role because that's the next one. So either you got fired, you quit, what, obviously most of the time one wants to increase responsibility and income, but you didn't have to say that. Now I'm seeking a full-time role to use those same skills. I had to be dependable. I had to be organized, and then making my customers feel welcome. So then I reverse that and say, I want to do those same things and to make an impact with your organization to keep you guys, going. So let's see if we can schedule a time to talk. So all of that showed value. It made more of an impact. It provided specifics where they could relate. Now, if I'm in a slow paced office and I don't, have a lot of deliveries and scheduling and things like that, then that may be, oh, I think she might be bored because we're not as fast paced. But that filled in the picture for me as an employer, and it gave me, okay, she addressed what's in it for me. because I definitely know the importance of keeping that front desk managed and not having, especially if nobody's there. So people are always running around. So that's one of the ways that I would resurface that, because it's always, beneficial from that perspective.
No, I love it because, and it's concise, right? And
Mhm,
it meets that criteria of like the four parts of an elevator pitch, right? I mean, you introduced yourself,
mhm, mhm,
you told us like um, about your experience, tell us what you bring, and also as you did that, you also told the employer like, hey, this is who I am and this is what I can bring to your company and do for your company. So,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
yeah. I know I know in the past when you hear that you've got to sort of think about that, um, create an elevator pitch and it's got to be 30 seconds, 60 seconds. People panic, at least I have, and thought, oh, how do I get everything into that
yeah.
time? But I think it's not that you want to get absolutely everything into that time slot, right? I
Mhm,
mean,
right.
it's more that you want to get like the relevant things, and the relevant things are certainly things that describe you, but as Sarah has emphasized, that matter most
Mhm.
importantly to the company, to the employer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the importance of just practicing it. Trust me, as old as I am, if I were to have an interview tomorrow, I would obviously have to seriously practice nonstop, because I have to alter it and tailor it for that particular interview. But it just doesn't just spit it out, because I could say something totally irrelevant. I'm sitting there. I have oil and gas background, but I'm interviewing at a hospital and they're looking at me side eyed like, well, what's that got to do with me? Well, then I don't mention the oil and gas. I just simply say I have 30 years of experience working for a variety of industries. Let them ask me. So, you have to think about it and then practice and practice and practice. And not just necessarily saying it out loud. I love using, my voice memo or tape recorder. You just keep, and it's amazing when you listen to yourself, you go, oh my God, I said a 50 ahs. So it helps you to even critique yourself. So this is something until it just begins to feel natural. So I tell people it's not easy, but trust me, once you do it enough, it will flow. Then you can just, drop in, take out as you need be. And again, it is always short and brief. The briefer, the better, which it forces the other person. So tell me a little bit more about, so you don't wind up giving it. So you really don't have to do that 60 seconds, but if you've got a lot and you want to drive home certain points, so be it. But definitely, definitely, just try to make sure it's very concise, and that you say it with energy and with enthusiasm, so that that person knows they're kind of trying to memorize stuff about themselves and they can't remember. No. So, don't try to use the fancy words that you normally don't want to use. So just keep it simple. Just keep it short and simple. Kiss.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I think it's important that you spend time and actually write
Mhm,
write it down.
mhm,
Because I mean, as you said, Sarah, um, practicing certainly gives you the opportunity to become really comfortable with saying it, because I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of discomfort, or people feel uncomfortable talking about themselves. And when you're looking
mhm.
for work, you really need to be really comfortable doing that.
Right.
And
You do.
um, and I think when you write it down, and you take the time, that also gives you the sort of knowledge that you can be flexible.
Mhm.
So, if you're talking to, the parents at a football game,
Okay. Right.
maybe sort of what you talk about is a little different.
Yeah.
But the thing
Exactly.
is, you don't have to like make it up because you've already thought
Exactly.
about it and you've
Mhm,
got some words, you've got some ideas, and you can pull those out
mhm. Right.
and use
Exactly.
them. Yeah.
Right. So, just for an example, now we were talking about that receptionist looking for a job, and I'm talking to a hiring company. Now let's just take it. I'm at the soccer game, and I'm sitting down in the stands, and someone, we're just chatting and they say, so, hey, so what do you come to the games a lot, Sarah, what do you do? Hey, well, I have a lot of years of experience as a receptionist. As a matter of fact, I've been working part-time at a law firm for the past 5 years, and it is wild and crazy. And I am now looking to get into a full-time role where I can use a lot of my organizational skills. We are really, really busy. We have deliveries, appointments, scheduling, and I have to manage all of that. And I thoroughly enjoy it. And so I'm looking now to just do it more on a full-time basis now that the kids are, at a level that I don't have to run all around. So that's totally how I would adjust my speech. I still got my 5 years, but now I'm talking to a normal person and they go, well, you know what? We were looking for a receptionist about a month ago. Let me see if they found. So
Right.
I have to do all of the other things. I'm dependable, but I simply adjusted it. But I was comfortable enough to obviously give them a little bit of a snapshot as to who I am, what I'm looking for, and why. So, yeah.
And I mean, as Sarah said, not just at, you know, ball games, but
Yeah.
almost anywhere. Like you
Yeah.
need to
Oh, yeah.
have something because,
An idea to tell people.
yeah, if people know you're looking for work, so, sometimes they ask, like, what are you looking for?
Mhm. Right.
And
No,
having this,
mhm.
knowing this helps you to be able to
Right.
concisely, right,
Right.
concisely
Exactly.
tell
Exactly.
them,
Exactly.
what you're looking for,
Yeah.
and so they might say, okay, sometimes they might say, I know somebody, or sometimes
Yeah. I,
they're just hearing you, and
I
that's okay. It's
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. I mean, so it's the 7 degrees of separation theory. You never know who someone knows. And if you don't let someone know that you are open and looking for an opportunity, then they're not just walking around with a billboard saying, I'm looking. So you just use those opportunities to interject that. And again, it doesn't have to be a structured networking opportunity. You could be sitting there taking, a class in pottery 101, but you're in an environment with other people and you're sitting around and you're just chatting. So always use those opportunities to just interject, and don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm looking for, work. Now you don't have to tell them, hey, I've been looking for a job now for 2 years, that sort of thing. But
Right, right.
definitely want to make sure that you use those opportunities. And every time you are around people, you never know how that conversation, but you're comfortable enough to share it with them. And if you're confident, then that makes that indelible impression. And that person kind of goes, yeah, I mean, I remember, didn't she say she was, yeah, I
Mhm.
remember her telling us that. It could have been at a party, but someone paid attention. And that's the thing that you want that elevator pitch to take legs and walk for you. And so at least open up that door of an opportunity. And Cheryl and I were a couple of months ago at a national conference, and I stressed to people when we were doing the session, this is a golden opportunity. You're here to attend and learn at seminars, but guess what? You're sitting next to people you just met for the first time. This is when you should have your elevator pitch already. You're sitting at dinner, at breakfast, you're going on tours. I mean, all these are opportunities where you get an opportunity to tell people. So always try to think of that from that aspect. So it's shameless promotion, but if you don't do it, nobody else is going to come through that front door and introduce you. So it's
That's
up to
true.
you. You got
Um,
it. Yes.
yes. So can we do a second one? Because this
Okay,
one is a
sure.
little
Yeah, this
different. So
yeah, it's a little different. No,
yeah. So
I'm
in this
prepared.
scenario, my name is Susan, and I just graduated from college. I just um, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. So hi, Sarah. My name is Susan, and I just completed my TVI degree, master's degree. um, the supervisors of three work studies programs told me that I'm really good working with kids, and I love working with kids. And so I would really appreciate a chance to talk with you to find out if there are any sort of openings at your school.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All
again,
right.
like Anything good?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Changes,
Mhm.
suggestions? Yeah.
Yeah. No, very good. Told me that you're a recent graduate, what you got your degree, and the fact that it was a master. So plus plus. So that piques that interest. So not just I recently graduated high
Mhm.
school, junior college, what, and you threw in the fact that the type of degree. So you stated that you had what your supervisors recommended that or stated that you were very good. So we're going to rephrase that, not necessarily say supervisors, but obviously you were working in a classroom and they recognized that that was a skill that you had, which is very important for a teacher. And that the fact that you did say that you were looking, to find out if they had job openings, but we're going to make it a little bit more solid and just, in other words, kind of position yourself with
Okay.
the company. So instead of saying, if you have job openings, just naturally assume and then let them know exactly what type of work. Yes, you got your you got your degree in teaching. So typically most people are looking for full-time work. But in this particular instance, since especially getting into the classroom, after receiving the degree, I think it's always good to throw in some other options. So this is something else. So just like Cheryl mentioned, as a receptionist, she specifically was looking for and needed full-time work, and she stated that in her pitch. In this instance, I think that Susan would obviously be open to full-time or even part-time. She wants to get classroom experience so she can start putting that on the resume because the experience that she had was work study, still good experience, and she has it on the resume, but now she wants to show I'm working for a school district or wherever. So uh, she also should state that because don't assume that people go, well, if you tell me full time, I don't have any full time openings, but I have some part time. I may have some substitute openings, but she didn't say she wanted that. So making sure you open that opportunity to expand that and leave that with the individual. So I think that she needs to take away not the fact that the supervisors told her, but that's her strength and that's her ability to connect and relate with those students. And I think we can kind of change that around and go with it. As a matter of fact, I had some fun with this one. I'm gonna have to read it versus because I'm afraid I'm gonna forget it because I was going, that's pretty good, Sarah. that made so I said, don't trust your brain cells to do this one on the fly. So hold on, let's see how we redo it and then you can tell the difference, okay? Okay, let me get to it. Hold on, let me get to it.
So I gotta say, Sarah, I did write down, I did sort of spend a little time preparing to put that one together. So,
See, and that's when I said, this is a good one. I like this one. And at first I said, no, no, I need to span. No, okay. So, because
all right,
again, she had some good stuff. And it
right,
was just like, I call it like going to a restaurant and you order a steak. If it doesn't have a sizzle, it's kind of on the plate. I want the sizzle and all of that that goes with putting it. So give it a little bit more sizzle,
all
when we
right.
do
I
the
like it. I
presentation.
like it.
So, yeah, okay. So let's go. Okay. All right. I'm trying to use my screen reader and listen to it. Okay. Hi, I'm Susan. I recently earned my master's degree in TV teaching students with visual impairments. And I hold on. It's reading too fast to me. Hold on, let me. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me back up. Okay, hi, I'm Susan. I I recently earned my master's degree in teaching students with visual impairments. And during my graduate work, I had an opportunity to have three internship or apprenticeship programs where I was able to apply what I learned in the classroom with my students. And I am now seeking an opportunity where I can apply those skills that I learned in the classroom in my And I have been recognized as having the ability to immediately connect with my students, not only from an academic life aspect, but also helping them with their daily life skills, which allows me to really feel that I have made a connection and an impact with my students. I am passionate about making sure that all of the classrooms are inclusive and that all students can, in fact, thrive. I would love to be able to schedule a time that I could talk with you and your team to become a part of your teaching staff. And I am definitely interested not only in looking for a full-time opportunity, but willing to even be a floating substitute if that is available. Can we schedule some time?
All right. So that was significantly better.
Yeah. So basically, what I was trying to do is whip in, those were 3 apprenticeships where she was able to apply what she learned actually and put it to good use in the classroom. But
Right.
then I put, instead of saying my supervisors told me, I was recognized for
Hmm.
being able to connect both their academic learning, but also daily life skills. Because you get some teachers, they're just A, B, C, D, but this,
Right.
you're connecting with them. And then the fact that she's passionate about being inclusive where all her students can thrive. And then, saying, hey, I'd love to talk with you. Don't just, somebody got an opening. So even if you don't have a full time, I know of no school that doesn't want to have on staff a floating, type of a teacher substitute or what have you. And in her particular instance, yes, she got it with teaching students with visual impairments, but she's a teacher by nature. So if she's got to start in a classroom, that's where she wants to get her foot in the door. So it kind of piques their interest and say, oh, that would be a possibility. Then we could, okay, work her in because we really don't. We've staffed all our teachers for this upcoming semester, but I know
Hmm.
of no one that doesn't have opportunities, to kind
Right.
of consider for substitute. So that's the difference. So it's impactful. She got her master's degree. It's impactful that you didn't have just one work study, and I called them apprenticeships. So
Hmm.
instead of work study, so 3. So working in graduate school and doing that showed me you definitely had a busy schedule, but being able to apply it and then relate with those students is very important. So it left a very, very positive impact if I were a principal or whomever that the individual is looking to talk to. So that would open up those conversations and say, let's kind of schedule something from here. So those are the things that I would make sure that someone understood.
And I think in the statement, it also, listening, I would think, oh, she's done a little work, right?
Mhm,
Because, I mean,
mhm.
when
Oh,
you're telling me, certainly you're looking for full-time
mhm.
opportunities, but you're also willing to be a floating
Right.
substitute.
Substitute.
And I
Right.
don't, I don't think that's not like everyday language,
No,
right?
it's not. Most
So,
people know they're
right.
just they have a mindset. And even from a hiring manager, I've had instances where I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if they'll be that perfect fit, but I wonder because some companies have internal temporary staffing, roles where that person is kind of a pitch hitter. Well,
Mhm.
okay, I need somebody to go up here. So and so's out. EO kids don't know how long. Okay, we'll go over there. So being able to plant the seed of saying, I know I'm here obviously for full time, but this is how much I really want to be a part of your organization. I'd be willing to do this and this. And
Mhm.
so plant that seed. So when that person leaves, they go, I never thought about that. Do we have how many? Oh, we are. Okay. Then open up that door. It starts the conversation. You just want to get your foot in the door. So on the same note, I tell people, yes, when you go looking for full time, also say, I would be willing if your organization utilizes volunteers. I'd love to be able to volunteer to prove to you that I'm fully capable of doing the job. So plant that seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just leave that there on the table because no one else is doing it. So again, that differentiates you from the pack. So and don't undervalue or underestimate. whatever you did at work study, it needs to be on your resume and show, that you did that while you were going to school. Because that's also, I mean, whenever you're taking, whether it's a full load or a part-time load and working and juggling, and you didn't flunk out, hey, it's a good thing. So let people know. I did work study the entire time I was in undergraduate school, and I had opportunities to apply because work study is different versus internships. Typically, you're kind of shadowing someone and they kind of hand you a little bit, and then they say that's good and they check that off and that sort of thing. But an apprenticeship role is where, or co-op is where they drop you in the bucket and say, I need you to do this, and then turn it in over here and let somebody bless it or tell you, that's not correct. So
Right.
you really, really are fishing and swimming, among the other fish and not just over and not really doing it. So you need to let them know that you did that. And if you had several during that time, that shows, wow. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Mhm.
This is really great. I mean, because I think the rewrite you shared, again, it sort of highlights Susan's education, highlights her experience, highlights and highlights the fact that I think she did some research because, as I said,
Mhm.
though some of
Mhm.
that terminology is
Mhm.
not generally known.
Mhm.
So as a listener, an employer, I think I'd be a little impressed, like, oh, she's done a little research and
Mhm.
she understands this field a little bit,
Right.
to talk about to have the ask that Susan did. So,
Exactly.
yeah. All
Mhm.
right, all right. So as always, we think we've got tons and tons of time. But it's always moving a little faster than we thought. So I just want to talk about some of our takeaways. Um, so again, we talked about the elevator pitch and talked about it being 30 seconds, 60 seconds, no more
Mhm.
than that, right?
30 to 60 seconds, correct. Yeah.
Right. And that it is a presentation of you and sort of what your skills are, what your experience have been, and sort of importantly, talking more about how all of that will help you to contribute to the work of the organization, the company, the employer that you're talking to. Because the important part is certainly, that you're presenting yourself, but you're really talking about what you bring and how that will help the organization to achieve its goals or the position that it's talking about, and sort of the end part of the elevator pitch is to have like the next step, the call to action,
Mhm.
the question.
Mhm.
But again, not terribly complicated, right? Not
No.
complicated at all. Just
No.
a straight up ask. Um,
Exactly. No. And even if you go, oh, well, I'm sitting, I got the interview, so maybe I don't want to say I hope we can schedule an interview. Well, once you say how I can make a difference with your organization, and I hope by the end of this interview, I am someone that definitely you will be looking to move forward in the process. And that's how you close it. So I'm already sitting here, so I don't want to, have an interview. I got that. So that closure after I make an impact, I want to make a difference. I want to join your team where I can use those assets to, and definitely hope by the end of this interview, I am an individual that you want to move forward in this interview process. So that's close it out and okay, let them do the asking.
right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then we talked about the importance of like preparing, right?
Mhm.
Taking the time
Mhm.
to actually sort of write it down, think through
Mhm.
sort of your strengths, your
Mhm.
skills, your experiences, what do you want to share,
Mhm.
your values? What do you want to share with people?
Mhm.
And what do you really think best
Mhm.
positions you for
Exactly.
the position that
Right.
you're
Right.
pursuing?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you've already looked at some of the job postings, they're keen on fast-paced environment, good, strong organizational skills, things of that nature. So you want to make sure, hey, did I incorporate those those things in my assets that what I bring to the table. So again, doing a little bit of extra research and go, okay, well, great. Then I know this is important that I need to share with them. So
I suppose we this I don't want to insult anybody, but I do want to say this. Please don't lie. I mean,
no,
if
don't
it's
exaggerate. No,
yeah,
and
don't
over
make things
embellish.
up about yourself.
No,
Um,
because then they could follow up and ask, give me an example of
right.
how excellent your organizational skills are. And if you're sitting, no, right, that's not going to work. That
Yeah.
you've got to be able to back it up, because anything that you say, it leads them to ask a question, So and something is simple. Many people would, hey, I worked in a hectic environment. Well, I knew where I worked was hectic, but I'm hoping it wasn't as hectic as yours. So then it would lead me to say, so describe a day. What was it like working in your company? And when they
Mm,
would say, on an average, I'd have 3 or 4 people stop by with some deliveries, and the phones, how many people were in your, I'm answering phones for 50 people. Well, my company has 250 people.
mm,
So again, be careful, because they can act. So make sure that it is relatable or something to that effect. So because they can follow back up with those kinds of questions. So yeah, definitely don't over exaggerate or embellish, and be prepared to give an example of how or why you stated that. And a lot of people, for instance, people use dependability. Well, give me an example of, what do you mean by dependable? Well, there was a time when we had a major thunderstorm, and I knew that it was critical that we do something. So I forwarded my phones to my home, and blah blah blah, and contacted whatever. But show that. Give me an example of when you did something, and I go, okay, yeah, that's above and beyond. That truly is when nobody thought enough, to make sure. So those are some of the things for sure.
yeah, that is so valuable. And we talked about practicing, right?
Mhm.
And so the aim of the practice is for you to like become really comfortable with what you're saying, and also for you to be confident in your delivery of what you're saying. So yeah, so absolutely practice.
Mhm.
Um, I think another thing from our talk, Sarah, that I'm sort of taking away is that, sort of depending on the situation, you need to be able to customize your elevator pitch. So
Mhm.
don't think like, oh, I got it. And then you tell everybody the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
Right? Because
Regardless of the situation,
yeah,
it's gonna be the
yeah,
same. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you gotta have to tweak it every now and then to just fit the situation. Exactly. The same way you would do your resume. You can't do one size fits all. So there needs to be some tweaking and adjustments to make sure that you've customized that as well. So that's very true.
Yeah. And I mean, those are some of the things that have stood out to me, Sarah. Are there
Mhm.
other things that you would add?
I think we encompassed most of it. And again, don't forget to summarize the number of years of experience. In my instance, I can't hide the fact I'm seasoned. So even if I just said I'm an experienced, HR recruiting leader, et cetera, it's some people go, why do you have to say 30? Well, hey, it is what it is. I didn't just wake up and start doing this 2 days ago. So you
Right,
know what I mean? So
right,
I'm proud, and it shows that I have an extensive background in a variety of industries, because each one is unique and has separate, type of quality. So you just make sure you're comfortable with how you want to describe yourself. This is an opportunity that you get to tell your story, your narrative, your own way. So be sure that it is impactful, and that person will go, okay, well, that's enough for me to get started. So no, other than that, just don't forget to, not, overshadow if you have a lot of experience, even if it was you coming back to work and it was 10 years ago, you took time off to stay with the family or went to school or what have you. but just stand proud on what there's nothing to be ashamed of, even if I have not worked in 15, 20 years. But when I did, I had, a solid 15 years of experience. I can't erase it. It's there. So
Mhm.
yeah, don't forget to, let people know that as well.
So, as always, fantastic. So much fun and so much learning talking with you, Sarah.
Oh,
So,
love it. Love it.
I
Love
really want to say, just again, thank you, Sarah, for being here and showing us how to construct how to write an effective and compelling elevator pitch. As always, I also want to thank the ASL interpreters and our hosts because we need you all here. You make this accessible and,
Yep.
and useful for people.
Thank you.
And as always, I also want to thank the people who are taking the time to listen to this webinar because I truly hope that as you go through the webinar, you find that you gain knowledge and tools and resources which you can use to help you sort of pursue your particular career development and career goals. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And please look for announcements of our future career webinars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're done.